Let's talk. I love this part, dude. We're into preseason predictions, bro. Like, we're talking predictions, season predictions, and you wanted to kick it off with Florida tonight.
Yeah, we'll start with Florida. So, do you want me to go first, or do you want to go first with this one?
How many times do we get called Gator haters in the comments after this prediction?
Could be a lot, but honestly, with how brutal this schedule is, we might not be far off from it.
Would love to point out, I predicted them to go 4-8 last year, but our Vols could not freaking beat them in their house, and so they went 5-7. But you realize how many times I got called a Gator hater, even though I was pretty spot on, other than my team not doing their job. You know how like rough that is, because you want to say, dude, I was actually kind of right, but then they're like, well, we beat you. Shut up, dude. Come on. All right. But no, let's just take a quick glance at this schedule, man. You just pulled it up on the screen. My God.
I mean, you really only have one guaranteed win on this schedule, and that's week 2 against Sanford.
I would hope that there's 2 on this schedule. I think there's 2 guarantees. But then again, it's Florida and it's Billy Napier. And yeah. Yeah, I don't know. This is crazy, man. Dan Mullen did a great job screwing over the next coach.
I have said that all along. I said, man, Dan Mullen just gave the double birds on the way out the door and said, screw whoever is next.
We threw cleats and we scheduled hard teams. I don't know. It's terrible, man. But I'm going to let you take this one first. I did the last prediction first, so I'm going to let you take this one first, man. Obviously, They start out at home against Miami. I think that's very key for the season opening. That's so tough, dude.
I mean, you start off at home against Miami, and man, is this not a must-win for both teams? I mean, Mario Cristobal, it's a must-win for him. Billy Napier, obviously a must-win for him. I've been back and forth on this game all off-season, but I just do not trust Mario Cristobal at all, especially coming into the swamp. So I've got Florida beating Miami game 1 this year. Big win for Billy Napier starting off the season before they welcome in Sanford to get a win in week 2. Then going against Texas A&M in week 3, going to be a tough game. First-year head coach Mike Elko.
Yes.
Yeah. I blanked for just a second, but so that could be a place where Florida could take advantage there with first-year head coach. But I just feel like when it comes to the Jimmies and Joes on the field, Texas A&M is a little bit ahead of Florida right now. So I've got Texas A&M coming into Gainesville and taking that game. Another first-year head coach as Jeff Lebby welcomes in the Florida Gators. And I'm taking Mississippi State to win this game, and I will tell you why.
Oh, God. Billy's gone. All right, go ahead.
I will tell you why. Because of the pressure that is on Billy Napier to succeed this season. And Jeff Lebby, there is no pressure at all this season as far as expectations for this season. Now, going down the road, there's going to be some expectations, but Jeff Lebby, he's just going to go out and he's going to have his guys play ball.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's why I've got Mississippi State winning at home. I think the cowbell environment is going to get to Florida in this one.
I do think it being away does pose a pretty big threat. I mean, we've seen it the last several seasons. Home field is a big advantage these days.
Yes.
Especially in conference, being home or away. That could be a big factor. I mean, it's going to be loud. It's going to be hot. Obviously, it's still September, but I could see that. Absolutely.
Yeah, and you mentioned a home field advantage there. That's why I've got Florida beating UCF in this one. They're coming off a bye week, and they're playing at home. I think it's advantage Florida in this one, although we'll see where Gus Malzahn and KJ Jefferson are at this point in the season, because that's where KJ Jefferson went to was UCF. So
I did not know that.
Yeah,
that's a big pickup if he can stay healthy for Gus Malzahn.
Yeah, absolutely. So I do have a win there for Florida, but that was not going to be easy.
No.
Gus Malzahn is a very good coach.
There's a big rivalry there. I mean, I understand people look at UCF like a lesser opponent, but
hey, they're in the Big 12 now.
what I was just about to say. They are now part of the Power Four. So yeah, all right. Let's just we know this one, right? We got them at home. It's no big deal, right? I mean, we're 1-1 against Millie Napier. So I mean, it's Billy Napier's never winning Milan. All right, like I'm just
Tennessee's going to win this game, but I've just got this strange feeling it's going to be a lot closer than what we need it to be.
I hope not. I freaking hope not. Dude.
I hope not too, but it is Florida, and we've struggled with Florida even in the wins. So
it is Kentucky.
You're going to be surprised with this one. I've got Florida beating Kentucky in the swamp this year.
I am very surprised with that one because Kentucky
has
Kentucky's owned Florida the last 3 years.
Maybe? Yeah, three or 4 years.
Yeah, it's so. I mean, I like this pick. I like it.
Yeah, I'm going to take Kentucky to lose to Florida in this one. Once again, it is at home for Florida. I think that will play a factor. But, this could very well be another game that Florida drops because, we mentioned that Kentucky has owned Florida as of late. We'll see where Kentucky is at this point in the schedule. But then you got a bye week before going to Jacksonville to play Georgia. We're just going to skip that one. That's a loss along with the next one. That's a loss as well.
We got Allen Anthony from Facebook. Y'all gonna cover Tennessee volleyball or what? Bro, ain't you watching like Angel Reese and Chicago Sky? What are you doing, brother? Come on now. No, I appreciate you tuning in, brother. We really do appreciate you. Is volleyball doing something special that I don't know about, or is he joking?
Tennessee volleyball has actually done very well.
I know they were doing good, but I thought their season was over, so I'm so confused.
Yeah, it's over, but okay. They've got a lot of high expectations going into next season as well. But
I mean, why not, dude? But go ahead, finish after. So we're at Texas because obviously Georgia and Texas we just skipped over really quickly because.
Yeah, I mean
it's playoff teams. Yeah, I mean, LSU.
This game on November 16th intrigues me because I don't know how good LSU is going to be this year. Yeah, you got was it Garrett Nussmeier at quarterback this year, and I think that he is good. I'm just intrigued to see how the rest of the offense molds around him, as well as if the defense can actually step up and stop somebody this year.
Yeah, that was a big point of emphasis. I mean, that's why they lost against Ole Miss last year, 52-56 or whatever it was. I mean, it was stupid. Okay, I like that.
But I do think ultimately LSU does win this game.
Yeah. Then I think is this not just a big difference between coaches?
Yeah.
I mean, Brian Kelly, I think he's got a little bit of pressure this year, honestly. I know he won the West a couple years ago, but he did it losing 4 games in a season. I mean, it's not like he had this special team. I think LSU I think Brian Kelly could be under a little bit of pressure. I mean, he signed a massive contract. He's got to start cashing in those checks, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I don't think he's at risk of being fired this year by any means.
Not at all.
But yes, there is definitely some pressure on Brian Kelly at LSU.
Oh yeah.
You welcome in Ole Miss in the last week of the season. I've got Ole Miss making the playoffs this year, so I think Ole Miss gets a win.
High on the lane train. I got you, brother.
Yeah. Hey, they have sold their soul to win this year. so if they don't do it, then something's wrong.
They have lost a lot of recruits. I will say that.
They have, but also spoiler alert: Lane Kiffin will be gone after this season. But we'll get to that once we do Ole Miss schedule prediction down the road.
Fair. That is fair.
At Florida State to end the season, that is going to be a loss as well. So I have got Florida going 4-8 this year. And what about this brutal stretch on the back end of the season? You play
Tennessee, right? I mean, you Tennessee, Kentucky, Georgia, at Texas, LSU, Ole Miss, at Florida State. At Florida State is rough because you can only imagine what Mike Norvell's team is going to be like after getting snubbed last year, in which I don't necessarily feel like they were snubbed. I think it was just very unfortunate circumstances. Because, again, you're looking at the 4 best teams, and Florida State just wasn't just wasn't one of the best 4 teams at the end of the day when it came to everything that happened, right?
Yeah.
Justin Williams, he said swap A&M and UCF for a 4-8.
I can see that. I can see
he's
that.
got Florida beating A&M. Okay. And losing to UCF.
I can see that because we don't know where Texas A&M is going to be with Mike Elko in Game 3 of the season. And, we already mentioned KJ Jefferson with Gus Malzahn there at UCF. I can very well see a win against A&M and a loss to UCF. But, I mean, there's a lot of unknowns towards the beginning of the schedule for me. But absolutely we know what's going to happen down the stretch.
All right, guys, get your screenshot so you can talk crap later on this season. Go ahead and do it, and then let's wipe this thing off and let me go to work here. Let me go to work because we got Miami coming into town. Let me pull out my notebook. All right, we got Miami. All right, coming into town, into the swamp, and I actually agree with you. I think the Florida Gators are going to beat Miami. I don't know why, but look, Florida played Utah twice in the last 2 years as their opening game. And I'm like, man, what are they doing? But they actually found a way to win one of those games, right? Am I correct? Maybe.
Yes, they won the year with Anthony Richardson.
Yes. That was a hell of a game because he had that, that signed his contract, actually. So, yeah. I think somehow they can find a way. And I'm kind of with you. Mario Cristobal has been this highly talked about head coach at Miami, but I just don't feel like he's really done anything there. I don't understand why the talk is there. I don't feel like it's warranted, in my opinion. I think the Florida Gators actually comes out with the win there. Sanford, that is an easy win. Texas A&M, they get Texas A&M home, and I think that's huge. But I think this is where Texas A&M, talent-wise, hasn't lost too much. Yes, they've gone through coaching change, but overall, Texas A&M still has one of the better rosters in the country, and I think Texas A&M actually pulls out the win here. So that's going to be a loss for the Florida Gators. Then they go to Stark Vegas, Mississippi State. And I do think they beat Mississippi State and first-year head coach Jeff Levy. Sorry. Mike Elko is the head coach of A&M. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's on me. So, all right. First month, technically, even though I know they play in August, but first month, you go into your bye week, you're sitting 3-1. And if you're Billy Napier, I think that's actually best case scenario.
Yeah, I don't see a way that he goes 4-0 in the first 4 games.
No.
So
because there's a very good chance he could lose the opening game.
Yes.
And, you hope you get one, if not both, of A&M and Mississippi State, right? But I do not. I'm kind of with you. I don't see him swiping. If they swipe it, look out, because Gators might have actually found something in the offseason that we just had no idea was there. So then we go into UCF after the bye week, and I do think Gus Malzahn has something for the Gators. I think UCF pulls out the win. I'm with Justin on this one. Justin, thank you for tuning in. UCF gets that win. And then obviously they come home. Billy Napier is not one in Neyland, and he's not going to start this year. So give the Vols a dub. This is where it gets a little crazy, man. I'm not going to lie. Kentucky's beat them several years in a row, and I'm going to pick Kentucky until they lose. So give me Kentucky. Georgia, Texas, you already know. It's 2 L's there. And then as I was talking to you earlier, they play LSU. At this point, I think Billy Napier is actually done for, and if he's not, the team is done for. LSU, that's a chalked up L. I mean, I think, like I said, Brian Kelly has got a lot to prove at LSU, and he can't lose to a 3 and whatever they are at this point, 3-5, 3-6. I think they're 3-5 at that game. He can't lose to that type of Florida Gator team. So LSU gets the win there. And then Ole Miss comes to Florida, to the swamp, but I think Ole Miss is going to be too good for them. I think Ole Miss gets the win, and I'm telling you, this team is gone. And then for no other reason than I felt so bad that I was choosing a bunch of L's against Florida, I've got them beating Florida State at the very end. I think the rivalry, for some reason, is going to bring out the best in this team. Maybe it's because it's an interim head coach, and they're playing for the head coach. I don't know. I just feel like they can beat this Florida State team for whatever reason. I don't know why. But I think it's because I felt so bad, and I just couldn't in my right mind have the Florida Gators going 3-9. So I've got them going 4-8 as well. but it's definitely a rough patch. And I do think this could be, especially if it plays out this way, things could take a turn quickly after the first month of football. Because I mean, we've all mentioned it, man. This schedule is brutal, and UCF, dude, is no knockover. I know they're new to the Big 12, but Gus Malzahn had that team cooking last year, and I feel like he upgraded at the quarterback position in a massive way.
Yep.
They better not look over UCF, man.
Yeah, and I don't think they will, but
you got to schedule. Yes, you have to get your wins where you can get your wins, right?
Yes, absolutely.
You can't float with danger.
But I just got to say, man, you're stretching for that Florida State win. And I know you said,
100%. No, I got it. Like, I know. But, dude, did I really have them finishing losing 8 straight? No.
I mean, that's fair. But, Florida State this year, I'm not going to say that they upgraded quarterback, but I think that they got close to what they had last year at quarterback with DJ Uiagalelei transferring from Oregon State, because if it was Clemson, Uiagalelei, man, Florida State is not going to be very good this year, but Oregon State, Uiagalelei, he looks very good out there. So I think this transfer to Florida State we're going to find out if it was Oregon State getting the best out of him, or was it Clemson maybe not getting the best out of him, and he's really better than we think. So I think it's going to be interesting to see, but I think Florida State's going to be too good for Florida. But
I think so too. I'm making it very well known that this is very much circumstantial, right? And like I said, I just couldn't in my right mind have them losing 8 in a row. I mean, maybe they pick up a win against Kentucky, UCF, obviously, but I just don't think it's a good season for the Florida Gators, man. It's a tough schedule, and I don't think Graham Mertz is that decent. I mean, he's decent as far as statistics. I just don't think he's that guy to carry an offense. He's going to need some weapons around him, and they just lost their best wide receiver in Ricky Pearsall. So who's going to fill his shoes, right?
Yeah, not only that, but your best running back in ETN transferred to Georgia.
Transferred out.
I mean,
exactly. Dude's got no weapons. At least not that we know. I mean, obviously that's what the season's for, but yeah, I mean, either way, look, discredit where I've got the wins and losses. We both have Florida Gators going 4-8 this year, and probably what would be Billy Napier's last year.
Yeah, and you didn't say which game, but you wrote down the schedule that you sent to me. Where do you have Napier getting fired?
It's got to be if he loses, if it plays out the exact way this is, he either gets fired after the Tennessee game or Kentucky game. I put it after the Kentucky game because that would be, I think, 4 or 5 straight against Kentucky. I think it'd be 4. I think it'd be 4 straight against Kentucky. But if he, at that point, would have a losing record against Tennessee and in Florida Gators country, that is an absolute no-no. He would have 4 straight losses against Kentucky. And then at that point, he would be 4-4 in the season, and you're about to pretty much guarantee the next 2 losses. So they might as well just go ahead and, in my opinion, they just go ahead and take the loss right before the bye week against Georgia, figure out what they need to do at the head coaching job, whether it's interim, whatnot. But I think that Kentucky game is where I had it penciled in.
Yeah, so I'm going to pull mine back up real quick because
see, it's completely different with this.
I was going to say, I don't think that I don't think that Billy Napier will be the head coach after this season, for sure. Billy Napier is gone. But with this right here, I think that
he keeps it to the end of the year.
I think he's fired before Florida State. Either he gets fired after LSU or after Ole Miss, because and here's kind of why I think after Ole Miss, because the way I've got it set up right here, you're looking at 4-4 after the Georgia game. You lose to Texas and LSU, you're sitting at 4-6, and you've still got hope. Hey, if we somehow pull out these last 2 games, we can become bowl eligible. I do think that bowl eligible would be enough to keep Billy Napier's job for 1 more year, but it's going to be stretching it.
Is it sad that bowl eligible with this schedule, in my opinion, would be overachieving for the Florida Gators?
Yeah, I mean, that's hard to believe that bowl eligible in any year would be overachieving for Florida. But I think once you get that loss to Ole Miss to pick up your 7th loss of the season,
yeah, I agree. That eliminates bowl eligibility. Yeah, exactly. I got you. I agree with that 100%. It's unfortunate because I don't think Billy was dealt a good hand in all this. Now, he's not done a great job of coaching. He's made some big coaching mistakes, especially against Utah in the opening games. He's done some great things. Don't get me wrong. He's beat Tennessee once. But overall, these schedules that he's been stacked up against are wild. I mean, they're wild. So,
yeah, and I just want to go on record and say, I think Billy Napier is a good coach. And once he leaves Florida or once he gets fired from Florida, there's going to be a mid-major school somewhere that's going to pick him up and they're going to have success. But it's almost impossible to have success at Florida with what he has been stacked up against.
Yeah. They've had some recruiting scandals, which is kind of weird, which is another reason why I think he won't be there after this year. But either way, Florida Gators 4-8.
Yep.
There it is.
Yep, both of us have them going 4-8. So it's going to be interesting to see this year. And like we said, if Florida somehow with this schedule gets to be bowl eligible,
that's got to be best case scenario, right?
Yeah, I mean, I just don't see
worst case scenario 3-9, best case 6-6.
Dude, I'm going to go worst case scenario 2-10.
Ooh.
If Florida, and like I said, that is the wheels completely falling off because
you lose to Miami and
I mentioned it. There is only one guaranteed win on this schedule, and that is Samford.
I think you're right on that.
And I think that you do pick up at least one of Miami, Mississippi State, or UCF. But, man, it's hard to just sit here and say, yeah, they're going to win all three of those games.
From that scenario, it's hard for me to even say they go 6-6 is the best case scenario.
Yeah,
that's rough, man. Because you think of Florida, right? You look at the logo and their history, and you're looking. It's like Miami, that's a win. Samford, that's a win. A&M, if that's not a win, that's a really good game. Mississippi State, that's a win. UCF, that's a win. Tennessee, let's be honest, should be a win, right? Kentucky, a win. Georgia, a lot like A&M. If it's not a win, it should be close. And then Texas, it's kind of weird because they don't normally play each other. But LSU, historically, Florida, even in LSU's best years, had a chance against LSU. So that would be your third, I guess, big toss-up game between LSU, Georgia, and A&M. Ole Miss and Florida State. Florida State, that's a win historically for Florida, in my opinion. Like, they've been that much better than Florida State historically. But this year, man, you just can't think about it like that. Like, it's just their team is not anywhere near where their roster was or has been for so long. So it's rough, man, because their toss-up games went from being, teams like LSU, Georgia, A&M, Alabama, whatever, to now their toss-up games are Mississippi State, UCF,
Texas A&M, Kentucky,
Samford. I mean, whatever. So yeah, it's rough, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I think worst case scenario is 2-10 for this team. I do think best case scenario is 7-5, and I'll go ahead and say which games I think could be those 7 wins if it was to happen. Like I said, I'm not anywhere near predicting this, but I think that you've got a possibility of starting off 5-0 before dropping the game to Tennessee. I think I think you would get a win against Kentucky. And then in that final stretch,
got to find one between LSU, Ole Miss, and Florida State, right?
I'm thinking LSU would be the one game that I think they would win in that stretch.
I feel like you're not a believer in LSU this year. That's what I'm hearing.
I don't know what to think about LSU because
fair enough.
You lost Malik Neighbors. She was Jaden Daniels, and then who was the other wide receiver? I can't remember his name now. But he also went in the first round. I
don't know.
This is bad for
I don't follow
here.
I don't follow him.
I mean, you lost your top 3 guys, and really it was a Jaden Daniels show last year when it comes to throwing the ball and running the ball. So you lose a big piece there. I just don't know. I don't know what to think about LSU yet. I mean, they're going to be good. I just don't know how good.
We'll get